Hello, and you are very welcome back to the Public Eye Business Podcast, brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, Sarah Travers, and throughout the series I'm speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Now today in the studio I'm joined by Jackie Reid, co-founder and CSO of Deli Lites Ireland. Jackie, you're so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sarah.
Now, before we begin, as always, I'm going to give a little bit of background on Jackie and indeed on Deli Lites. So, it was back in the early 1990s, and Jackie and her four older sisters spent a summer working in New Jersey, their first introduction to the New York deli scene. They were blown away by the demand and decided to replicate the idea back home, with the first Deli Lites store opening in Newry in 1994, with Jackie, her sisters and her mum all on board. It was an instant success and sales grew quickly, increasing week on week. Now, a few years later, Jackie and her husband Brian spied the opportunity to produce their own pre-packed food to go and supply to local shops, forecourts, schools and colleges, and Deli Lites Ireland was formed. Starting with a modest 30 sandwiches per day, sales quickly grew, and in just 3 years, demand for Deli Lites products led to expanding manufacturing capability twice. The company has an ever-increasing portfolio of customers, a workforce of approximately 250 employees, and growing. They've added a bakery facility and currently supply to every county in Ireland every day of the week. What a success story. Now exporting all over the world, Deli Lites is fulfilling the original vision to bring the best Irish sandwich to the world market. The dream is to see that sandwich sold in New York, where the story began. But while the company continues to innovate and evolve, one thing it will never do is mediocrity. Jackie, when I read an introduction like that, what's going through your mind?
Oh, thanks, Sarah. That was a lovely intro, and sometimes whenever you hear it back, you go, is she talking about me? Yeah, listen, it's a good story, and, a lot. We've done an awful lot over the last 25 years, and it's just exciting, and I love every day waking up and thinking, well, what can we achieve today? Every day is a new day, and there's so much potential and demand for our products. And even still 25 years on, we're, building the company and we're reaching new boundaries that we thought we never would, So, no, it's exciting.
And it's lovely to have you here in Newry today, which is, of course, your hometown. I think you've been chatting to everybody on the way up the stairs, but just tell us a little bit about your background, because, presumably you didn't go to school, leave school and then say, I'm going to make sandwiches for a living.
Definitely not. So really, I live in Rostrevor. I've got 3 kids, Sarah, and I live there with my husband and my business partner, Brian. I did come from quite an entrepreneurial family with my 4 older sisters all in the food business, having their own sandwich bars.
So they were doing sandwiches already.
Absolutely. Well, the idea initially came from them. So, they went to college and done their thing, came back from university. Then we went travelling to New York. They initially seen the idea of working in the New York deli scene, and thought, this would be fantastic to bring it back to Newry. Back then there was nothing like deli sandwiches. All you could get would be, your normal roast dinner, like if you went in somewhere for lunch. So
there wasn't even sort of pre-packaged sandwiches. Maybe, I suppose we didn't even have the supermarkets then doing that.
Very, very little, Sarah. There was food courts offering a very, very range of food to go, like, very plain sandwiches that wouldn't be enticing or didn't have innovative flavours like we were going to bring to the scene. So very exciting, but it was great, being surrounded by entrepreneurs with my 4 sisters and my brother, who runs and owns a very successful farm out at home in South Armagh. But also my dad was a real entrepreneur, And my mum was an integral part of our success in being entrepreneurs ourselves. She was there from day dot, and she was helping us in the kitchen, and you know, her support really was a massive part of the success of all the girls in the family as well as my brother. So,
And had she worked in business herself, or she just mucked in?
she mucked in.
Yeah.
She was a doer. She, you know, she had 6 kids, and she was a housewife. She ran the house. She looked after the kids. There was 6 of us, and we were challenging. We were running around the fields, and she couldn't find us, and we were all up to something very curious and very, you know, challenging at that time, being young children. But Mum done a fantastic job. But she ingrained in us from a very early age about work ethic, getting stuck in, about team effort, helping each other in the house, doing the dishes, making your beds, working together, you know, and those things stick with you. And helping one another out and seeing your purpose in helping the family, and that's where our family values are embedded, you know, from what our mother's shown us from those early days.
It's a fantastic story. So, you know, just take us through how you actually got set up. So you came back from New York. I mean, it's a super story, but you know, how did it first happen?
Well, I suppose I sort of fell into it because I had left school at 16 and actually went and done media studies for a while in the local Southern College in Uri. So I was doing that for a while, and because I was a wee bit lost, didn't know what to do. At the same time, my sisters had opened the first sandwich bar in Uri. So I got a part-time job there, helping making the sandwiches and dealing with customers. After a while, I realised I love this. I love this environment, how fast-paced it was, how innovative it was, because my sisters and my mother was coming up with the ideas on the sandwich varieties and how to be different and bringing those elements of the New York deli scene into the sandwich bar. And the people in the Newry and Mourne area didn't know what hit them. They were excited, they embraced it, they loved it. You know, there was queues down the street, and I really got my eyes open, and I thought, I love this.
We're on to something.
And we're on to something. And
you love it too.
Oh, my goodness, Sarah, the energy in the shop was electric.
Yeah.
And the customers could feel it. We had more than a customer relationship. It was a love for what we were doing for them, how we were serving them, and the food we were offering them. So it was really fantastic to work with your sisters in achieving that.
Yeah, and it was that instant success. But when, you know, how did you bring Brian into the business then? Or what was Brian doing?
Poor Brian only came in for a sandwich one day. I got more than he begging for.
The rest is history. Is that how you met him?
Yes,
No way.
Absolutely. So him and his friends would have come in. He was in the local college as well, studying hotel catering and tourism. So he came in for a sandwich on a daily basis, and definitely, I think he was first smitten by the sandwiches, and then I came second. But,
I don't know about that.
I served him very well, so he was a very good customer. So yeah, that's where I met him, and you know, we got on very well, and he was very entrepreneurial as well. You know, he went to work on the cruise liners out in the Royal Caribbean, came back, and at that stage I was saying, listen, I love this environment. I think there's a niche for us to be replicating this. We looked about opening other sandwich bars in neighbouring towns, and we thought the capital and starting that up would be initially too much for us because we were only 19. So we were really young.
Gosh, you were so young.
It was so young. So we decided to make pre-packed sandwiches and deliver them around the local schools, petrol forecourts, hospitals, because the demand was huge. And we were getting phone calls on a daily basis about, can you supply me here, can you supply me there?
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200. What did you do? Buy a couple of vans and that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, we done that at a later stage. Initially, which was fantastic, we started making the sandwiches throughout the night in my sister's sandwich bar. So we would go in at like 9 o'clock in the evening, prep all the ingredients, make the sandwiches, label them, pack them, and Brian came along then and he supplied them out all to the local shops. So that's how it began.
Oh my goodness.
Very
So did
simple.
you ever sleep?
Probably didn't during the day, maybe for a couple of hours, but I was that excited. I was so passionate. It was oozing out of me that all I wanted to do was go out during the day and check in the shops that we supplied the sandwiches to see if they'd sold out. But sure, we were getting phone calls a couple of hours later. Can you bring me more? We're sold out.
So the demand was there. I suppose then the supply issue, that becomes
that was
the
a
problem.
yeah.
Right. How did you cope with that?
Absolutely. We did hit a roadblock because we couldn't produce as many sandwiches as the demand was looking for. So we quickly had to then get our thinking caps on and look at our own premises. So we drove around the local area in Uri. We couldn't find an industrial estate that had a unit that would facilitate us making food to go. But we did come across a prawn shelling factory up in Warren Point, a Milltown Industrial Estate, and it had a walk-in chiller. It was kitted out. It was nearly like the universe was bringing this to us.
The universe provided.
Absolutely, and that's something I do feel a connection with. And at that time, I mightn't have realised it, but everything slotted into place. It was nearly as if it was meant to be. Oh. So we went with the flow and we started up in Milltown Industrial Estate, and that was our first, individual premises for Deli Lites Ireland.
Oh, that is unbelievable. And then, I said in the introduction, you have grown now. You're global, but we'll come to that in a minute. But the fact is you've got a workforce of approximately 250 employees. Where do they all work? And, it's a fabulous local success story. You must be so proud.
Yeah, I am very proud, and I have to pinch myself every so often to make sure it's real. But yeah, listen, we had grown phenomenally and organically over the last 20 years, and suppose with that we had to recruit more staff to help facilitate the production of the sandwiches, because everything's made on site, handmade. There's no machinery or there's no automation really worth talking about, apart from maybe a bit of cutting or whatever, but everything's handmade. So we had to get people in and train them. So as we grew, on a weekly basis, really, we were getting new orders in. We had to bring new staff in as well. So it happened very organically, and we got new contracts with the likes of Costa Coffee and with the major retailers throughout Ireland, Musgrave and Boots and Sainsbury's. So with all those big blue chip companies, we had to make sure that we could, deliver on the demand. So we just had to keep recruiting. It was a challenge to recruit the right people, and also the biggest challenge was to get me out of the kitchen, Sarah.
That was my next question. I was going, at what point did you actually step away from the sandwich making?
Yeah, it was very, very difficult. It was nearly like seeing your child move on from the home, It was like, I knew after we got a phone call one day from Costa Coffee in the UK wanting us to supply all their stores in Ireland. I said, right, I need to step away from the kitchen duties and actually stop making the coleslaw to actually working on the business. And that meant looking at the opportunities, working with my customers, giving them the best service, and also working with our development team on innovation and making sure our food was ahead of the trends. So
So it was difficult for you, because I suppose I could tell it was working, and it was working because you were there making the sandwiches. Yeah. So would it work if you weren't there?
Exactly.
And it did.
Yeah, it did work, because
which is a great lesson for people listening who think they have to do everything.
Yeah. Well, that's where the growth came from. The minute I stepped out of the kitchen, really, then we had phenomenal growth over those next 2 to 10 years, year on year growth of maybe up in 25-30%. It was huge, because the opportunities were there. I was freed up really to go out and see the customers, to do presentations, but also to go on trips and to see what other innovation was happening out in the wider food to go market. So it's very important to do that, because if you do have a vision and you see the growth, you can't be in the middle of the business. You have to look at it and work on the business, and also bring new people in to support and help you, because I certainly wasn't good at everything. I had to bring in expertise and technical and NPD and accounts and finance. So I was able to stand back, and myself and Brian we're able to put a plan into place to bring in the best people to support us then, you know.
Quite often I have people sitting opposite me and, you know, they've started with an idea or they've started with a product and it's worked, and then they've said, but I wasn't a natural business person. I then had to learn how to run a business. But that seems to have been something that you've taken to like a duck to water. What would you say has been the reason for that? How did you just adapt?
I think it was the foundation of being around my family, initially with the first sandwich bar, and getting that foundation of working in a family environment, teamwork, knowing that you couldn't go on a solo run, that you had to communicate effectively, and you had to, you know, you had a shared end goal. So I think you don't need all the experience in the world. You don't need degrees, or you don't need huge big business plans. I didn't have anything like that. Of course it's fantastic to have that, but I didn't have the luxury of having that. But I was self-taught, and I think, you know, I winged it as well. But I think you need a lot of belief and passion to be able to to meet the demand and the expectation that people have around you as well, you know.
So whenever you watch like the Apprentice or whatever, and a team gets together and they have to assign, you know, you'll be the managing director, you'll be in charge of sales, you'll be the marketer, etc. You know, how did you become that person that was going to lead, and was that difficult within a family business?
Yeah, it was, but you know, again, it wasn't just me on my own. It was Brian, my husband, who is the CEO. So it was hard, but we knew what needed to be done. So we just had to write out the list of people we knew that we needed in the business to bring us to the next level. And then it was really about, you know, recruiting and also using social media to advertise the business, so that people would say, oh, they're a reputable business, or they're going places, or they're doing something really different and really good. So we have attracted an awful lot of talent through advertising on, you know, the different social media platforms, and that sometimes is the best way of recruiting, is word of mouth, and really being open and transparent about what you want to do and your vision for the future.
And what about raising capital? What about investment? I mean, I hear that again. It's so difficult at the minute for people to get money and to finance their growth. You've been working with Invest NI since 2007. How would you say they have supported you?
Oh, Invest NI has been fantastic. From, you know, the early days, they've been helping us with marketing and help us set up our first exhibition in Dublin all those years ago. You know, we did move from Northern Ireland into ROI back in the early 2000s with our sandwiches, because initially it was very a local customer base we had, but we've seen a huge market in the south of Ireland, and we've seen then that, you know, Invest NI was able to support us with that export growth, because that's what they're all about, you know, is bringing new products out of the Northern Ireland. But even to this day now, we're on their scaling programme, which means they're going to help us grow internationally. And again, it's going to be through support of bringing new people to us, be helping with marketing, and also exhibitions in the likes of Dubai. We were at Gulf Foods back in 2019, I think, before COVID.
Yes.
So we'll be going back again next year through Invest NI support. So
where can people in the world now buy a Deli Light sandwich?
Probably, well, we supply in a lot of countries in Europe. So we supply in 9 countries in Europe, and the Scandinavia and Benelux countries, and the UK. So listen, there's loads of potential out there. We're only sort of scratching the surface. We have identified that the European market in food to go isn't as advanced as Ireland. So it's bringing us back those nearly 20 years ago when we first seen that opportunity in Ireland.
So that's interesting. Why is that? Are people wanting freshly made over there? Or
I just don't think they're as advanced. Like, Ireland is so advanced in food to go. Like, there's some fantastic success stories out of the island of Ireland. And I think that we have something special. We have amazing produce, and we have fantastic people, and we have such a zest for life, and we also want to, you know, create and develop and be successful. So I think we have something special, and, you know, even the people that's working for us are fantastic through all different departments. So we're bringing that expertise to the European market, because they're not as advanced, and maybe they don't see food to go as being a big enough part of their vision, but we certainly see that.
And apologies if this is a stupid question, but how does a sandwich that's maybe bought in Belgium, how does it end up in Belgium? Does it get made here or does it get made over there? Is that controversial?
It's certainly not a stupid question. So no, all our manufacturing facilities here is on the island of Ireland. So we've worked with Loughry College over the last number of years to develop a bespoke freezing process that locks in the freshness of a sandwich so that the product is frozen within minutes, really. So it's blast freezing. It's very unique. We've worked with manufacturers and getting the bread texture right and the moisture so that whenever you get a frozen product and you heat it up, like a panini or burrito can be supplied frozen to Norway, and a customer would open it up, put it in the oven and cook it and serve it, and that's made from one point.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you mentioned as well how important innovation has been to the success of this business, and there's an example again of coming together with people who are experts in technology and innovation, and you going with, here's our problem, here's our issue, and then we have the brains here to develop
Absolutely.
the technology you need, which is amazing.
So important, Sarah, to work with the experts in the field, and because we don't know everything, but all we know is we're hungry to learn and we want to develop and we want to innovate. So surrounding yourself with the best people in that area will be a recipe for success, because, you're doing something different and you're doing it right, and our customers are responding to it, they're loving it, and, we're seeing a niche and we're certainly getting orders throughout the world for our products, so we're excited and amazed by it, but at the same time, it's been hard work and grit determination and the love for what we do.
I mean, I see the Deli Lites sandwiches everywhere, if I'm popping in, because I'm on the road a lot with my job as well, and I do tend to eat a lot of sandwiches. But I have, it's a very distinctive packaging, it's eye-catching, I love the wraps. How many products do you have?
In the range?
In the range, yeah.
Yeah, well, we started off with pre-packed sandwiches. Wraps is a big part of our product range as well, because it's seen as a wee bit lighter option, and you can be a wee bit more innovative with wraps and the varieties. And then we have yogurt pots, and we've got paninis, hot eats, burritos, salad pots. We've launched beautiful crunch pots this summer, and they're based. There's a vegan one that I personally love myself, beets and spirulina, and it's grains and crunchy veg and hummus. It's delicious. So it's all about good, wholesome ingredients, good food, make you feel good, brain stimulating food. So very, very interested in that area of the health sector as well.
And you're a vegan yourself,
I am
so
indeed.
It's very important to you.
Yeah.
How would you describe the rise in the popularity of vegan food? Because 10 years ago, vegan was nearly, people were turning their noses up at you, and now, sure, it's everywhere. It's
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, no, it was very uninspiring. What you would get in the local restaurants, you might be lucky. Yeah, or you might be lucky to get a veg stir fry or something. So it has progressed massively over the last number of years, and I've always been vegetarian, but I've turned vegan the last, suppose, 2 to 3 years, and I was very I was very dedicated in looking at new ranges that we could develop within Deli Lites and launch them. So our plant-based range did launch a few years ago. We were the first in the market. Now, it was slow to start with, but I like always being the first out there.
So you were the first?
Yeah, to a purely plant-based range throughout the country. But now it's selling really well. It probably accounts for about 15% of our sales. So it's growing massively, but we have developed that range further into our export market as well, through our burritos and our paninis and our our hot sandwiches, and that is launched through our new brand called Planet Cafe.
I think that's fascinating too, that you just said there, I like to be first, but risk is part of business.
Absolutely is. Risk is, very apparent in every business, and if you're not taking those risks, you're not really growing and thriving. Even so, we took the risk with the plant-based, and it wasn't a massive success 3 years ago. We knew that it would be eventually.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew deep down. Things was changing, the world was evolving, people was getting more conscious of what they were eating, their environment. They were travelling more before COVID, But yeah, they were getting a wee bit more educated on what they were putting into their body. So I knew it was only a matter of time. And you can only see now the amount of people out exercising and really taking notice of their health and their fitness. So it was a matter of time. So we're delighted to be in this space and still innovating within it, you know.
Where did the name Deli Lites come from? It sort of ties in with lighter eating options as well.
Absolutely, that was exactly what it is about. And obviously the deli came from the New York deli scene. My sisters were, I think they were lying on a beach in New Jersey, and they both worked in the deli bars in New Jersey. So deli had to be a big part of the name. And then Lights was because of the lighter sort of option of food we were, you know, serving. But then there's a star in between it, and that star came from obviously Stars and Stripes of, you know, the US as well. So it ties it right back to New York and where it all began.
Now that dream, as I said in the introduction as well, your dream is to see your sandwich, a Deli Light sandwich, sold in New York. Is that dream being realised anytime soon?
Absolutely. We're definitely on the road. We're on that agenda, and there's loads of opportunities in the US. We're just sort of trying to conquer the European market initially, but that's definitely on the agenda. We do have a strategy over the next 5 years, and we're delighted that even with all the challenges of COVID and Brexit, and we're going into potentially worldwide inflation and recession, we're still on that route, you know, of our strategy being delivered upon.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about that, because we are, you know, every time you turn on the news, it's doom and gloom, cost of living crisis, huge. And are you worried about that? Because at the minute, buying a cup of coffee, having a sandwich or whatever might have been seen as something that people did regularly, daily. But are you worried now that that will become, or has become, a luxury for people? Are you seeing that impact yet?
Absolutely, we're not seeing the impact as of yet. And, you know, there's no point worrying about things. And this is what we say, you know, to our staff. And obviously, you know, myself and Brian says it very openly ourselves. Worry gets you nowhere, but being aware makes you ahead of potentially what could happen. So we're very aware of the challenges ahead, and you know, we have a very robust team and we have fantastic innovation. So if we need to look at new products or, you know, different ways of, supplying products at different...
Well, just the cost of food at the minute as well. I was thinking, for you, is it costing more to make the food, the wraps and sandwiches?
Yeah.
And are you passing that cost on yet to the customer?
Absolutely, yeah. And our customers has been fantastic because they can see it coming from their end as well. So, we're sharing all those costs with our customers and they understand completely. And then user obviously knows as well, because you can only know whenever they do their local shop. Everything has went up in price. So every type of food and coffee will take a hike, but it's one of those things, you just have to ride the waves.
Yes, we never know what's around the corner. I mean, you've got through COVID, and that probably, like everybody else that sat in this studio, the initial reaction was, oh no, what are we going to do? How was it for you? Was it actually good for business?
Yeah, I think it really, stopped us and made us really think about our business. We're a very resilient company, and only for our strong management team, we were fantastic and we kept positive from the very beginning. It all broke because our business was more or less, non-existent overnight. But we did keep people on the factory floor and we kept them, as many employed as we could, very innovative and very flexible. And we changed direction. We brought sandwiches to our customers, so we done home deliveries. Yeah. And we had an e-commerce site and we were supplying sandwiches and tray bakes and all types of different products to our customers, to keep positive, to keep our name out there, to keep the belief there that everything was going to be good. And it was fantastic. It really worked, fantastic for us. And we have to thank all our customers throughout Ireland that supported us and, kept buying our products. And, we're very grateful, and we wouldn't be here today without them.
What's the favourite product then? Or does that vary from country to country and region to region?
Absolutely it does. Like you have your stable, like BLT and your chicken and stuffing, but I think now we're moving away from those type of, more stable products to the innovation that we have developed within our wraps So our salt and chili chicken is a big firm favourite. People be crying out for it. We can't make enough of them.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to try that one. I haven't had that one yet.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a bit spicy, but it's very delicious.
You seem also, as we've heard, like a really family-oriented person. How has it been growing this business as a family business, but also, you know, you've got children of your own now as well. Do you want them to come into the business? How important is that to you?
Yeah, it's very important. Like, family is everything, and it did bring those family values from the sandwich bar those years ago, 25 years ago when it first started, into Deli Lites Ireland. So we do believe we are a big family, extended family, and we sit around a table. We're very open, we're very transparent. It's very important for us that, you know, the business is for the greater good, not just for profit. We have four core values in the company, one being responsible, one being be curious, be positive, and be a champion. And they feed into our certification for B Corp. I don't know if you know what that is. B Corp is a certification that it's not just for business, it's not just for profit, it's for the good as well. It's looking after the environment, looking after our people, being ethical and transparent. So that's very important for us, and that's something that we feel very strongly about, and our team of people, which is our family, is working with us on achieving, and we hope to get that by the end of this year or early 2023. So that will be a big celebration.
So you really live by those values. And what about the next generation? Would you love them to come into the business?
Well, yeah, actually my son Stephen, he's 17. He was working with us throughout the summer and has been for the last couple of summers, because we have a bakery facility as well as a sandwich manufacturing. But he was just liking the bakery a wee bit too much this last couple of years. Yes, the chocolate, I think there was more chocolate he was eating than maybe making in tray bakes.
I would have that problem if I came and worked for you as well, so don't ask me to help out. I like eating a little too much. So that's lovely. And also, you're really into supporting your local community. You're providing jobs, but you know, I just think that's an incredible achievement. I just think that must be so nice to come from a certain area and then know that you've provided livelihoods for families and people who don't have to leave. They can stay and work here and be part of this success story.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very important that you know, we give back to the community, because we have a lot of staff in our local area that come to work every day, and we try and support and help them to, you know, so they can get to work easy. We supply them with a bus, and obviously we give them free lunch, and we really appreciate them, and we show that through lots of events we would have in celebrating the success of the company, which we really love.
You know, you love a good party.
Oh, we love a good party, and we certainly know how to have fun, you know.
But that's so important too, and I suppose in terms of recruitment, people now want to work for a company they recognise the values, and also they have fun, because we spend so long at work. Gone are the days where it has to be a chore or dreary.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you, Sarah, and I do believe all our staff love coming in to work, and we're very open and transparent, and, you know, and flexible as well. You know, there's a lot of hybrid working going on as well since COVID, and we just like talking to our staff and trying to facilitate them and help them and their families in making it comfortable for them for working for us, and also to you know, there's lots of different opportunities in Deli Lites to expand your career, and we give all those training and tools for them to be the best they can be in the company, and to stay with us as well, which is very important. And also recommend Deli Lites as one of the top local employers of the area.
Yeah, it is an incredible success story. There's no getting away from that. And, you know, the longevity as well, to think that you started in 1994. What's been the most standout pinch yourself moment along this journey where you just think, oh my word, I love this?
Oh, there's been so many. It's hard to choose one, but I think it has to be from, you know, the first export order we got in Norway. I was at a show in London. It was the lunch show, and we were exhibiting. You know, we had a stand there and we were selling all our products, and we had everything on show, and a customer came over from Norway, and they just fell in love with the range and the products and what we offered. But it was very much about relationships. The lady had said that she reminded I reminded me of her younger self.
Goodness.
So she had a family business as well. She was the mother of a family business, and we got on like a house on fire. So I think striking those relationships with people is very important, and she placed a huge big order with us I think 6 months later. So that was a pinch me moment, and I felt so appreciative and so humbled by it, because I thought, oh my God, really you can achieve anything if you put your vision into it and your belief.
And your personality,
Absolutely,
obviously, too,
that always helps.
And you do light up this studio, and you do always have a smile on your face, which is fantastic. How do you get away from work?
Well, I'm very privileged to live in a beautiful area in Rostrevor, just on the foot of Kilbrony Mountain. So, listen, I go up there every morning for a hike. I have 2 lovely dogs. So I get away with them for a couple of hours, come back down. I do a bit of meditation as well. Just gets me in the zone for the day ahead, because it is sometimes hard for work-life balance and getting into the zone and then coming back home to a busy family of 3 teenagers.
Wow.
So I do get out, and I have free time, which is very important, and we do go on holidays and we do lots of other things as well. So it's about looking after yourself first.
And do you and Brian, are you able to get time away from the business, or does it always come back to business, even if you're having a nice romantic meal somewhere?
Well, yeah, it sort of does. But this summer, we actually got away for the first 2 weeks ever on holidays with the 3 kids. So that was amazing. That's something we decided that we had to do, because with COVID and all the challenges.
First time ever?
Yeah, for 2 weeks. Now, we have been away for short breaks. I've been away on my own, maybe with the kids, for 2 weeks, but he had to go home early or whatever, because we just didn't feel comfortable about taking that length of time off work. But we have an amazing team now, and they run the business very, very well. So when you have people like that around you, you can really go away without a worry or a care in the world, which is fantastic. And the other thing is, we don't talk about work in front of the kids. That's complete
and I'm sure they're delighted at that as well.
They are.
Work talk, Mum and Dad. What's next, though, for Deli Lites then, Jackie?
The world is our oyster. I think onwards and upwards. We're going to keep doing what we're doing and do it well and do it with passion and conviction. Our staff is fantastic. Our team, as I mentioned before, is brilliant. There's so many opportunities out there internationally. We do have a plan in place, and we're going to work with our partners internationally as well, and we're just going to bring more of our ranges. We have a fantastic new brand called Planet Cafe, and that was developed earlier this year for the export market, and that's frozen down and supplied out in pallets and then into containers, which go out throughout Europe. And we're just excited about developing that further and reaching different parts of the world, Sarah. So, exciting times.
You can't fail to be impressed by this story. But the final question, Jackie, I ask everyone, the purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their business by offering an insight into the success of businesses such as yours, such as Deli Lites. But what advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking?
Well, I think it's very important, and I should have done more of this when I was starting out, but I suppose I did have my sisters, so I had entrepreneurs around me. But it's very important, Sarah, to surround yourself with like-minded people who's got an interest in business, that have a business, who has an experience that you can go and talk to and ask them how do they do it, and, have they any tips or, any experience or advice. It's very important to do that, because some people can be afraid and intimidated. And I know in business, when I was starting out, you had the wee bit of imposter syndrome. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not asking that question. That's silly. But I think, you need to forget about all that. You need to go and ask other businesses how they had done it. And I'm very open, and I have helped a lot of startups in the last couple of years with any questions they have, because support and advice is always so welcome, and it helped me. My sisters were a fantastic advice and support system to me. So just surround yourself with good people and ask other business owners,
There you have it. Great advice there from Jackie. A brilliant story. Thank you for being a guest on the Public Eye podcast. And if you've loved this story about Deli Lites, then join us again for another great episode soon.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.